start to say, oh, gee, I'll never be quite what they are. And then a guy like Matias comes along and reminds you, what are you talking about? You're not going to be as good as them. It's not just about talent. It's not just about those God given things that are beautiful. It's not just about genetics. It's about how much do you want it? What are you willing to do to get it? How far are you willing to go? How much will you suffer to get there? It's about will. And Teddy, I love the idea that he gives hope to all the people out there like me who don't have as much talent as some of the other people that, you know what? If you want it enough, if you're determined enough, if you care enough, if you work hard enough, you can get it.
Hello, amigos, and welcome to another episode of Inside the Ropes with Coach Mario. Coach Mario, owner and head coach, Warriors Pride Boxing Academy here in Miami, Florida. How are you guys doing this morning? Anyway, guys, I went early this morning and trained one of my privates there at the gym, and started thinking a little bit about today's subject. What was I going to talk about? And it's something that I've been it's an ingredient that I actually tell my fighters they should have in order to prepare them for their upcoming match. They're going to be fighting. I have 3 of my fighters are going to be competing here in Key West at a local tournament, USA sanctioned event, the end of this month. And my guys are in shape like there's no tomorrow, man. We train really hard. I mean, we're talking about 5 times a week, at least 5 times a week we're training, we're running, or they are running. I can't run and I can't train as much as I did before my surgery, but I'm there with them every single step of the way, and I'm guiding them into becoming stronger, better physically, and having all the tools necessary technique-wise in order to prevail, all right, for their upcoming match. And it's 3 of my guys that are being competing. Now, one of the things that I told them, and I believe it was yesterday, Thursday, we had a training session. We had sparring there at the gym. And we were talking a little bit about, what it takes to become successful inside the ring. And, we were talking about it. And one of the things that I told one of my guys, I said, listen, you're in shape. You're improving your skill. We're doing everything necessary as far as technique and training wise in order for you to become better every single time. And let me tell you guys, boxing is a sport that we're constantly learning. Whoever tells me they're perfect boxers, and they know everything they have to know about the sport of boxing, has stopped learning and has chosen not to grow anymore. All right. So one of the things that I told one of my fighters, I said, listen, you're doing this, you got to do this better, you got to fight on the inside, you're a short guy, blah, 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 and all this other stuff, right? Technical part. But then I told him, and there's something else that you need to include in your fight game, especially when you're going to compete, and that is your killer instinct, all right? And sometimes they look at you weird, like, what is coach trying to tell me? Killer instinct is not the intention to hurt, maim somebody inside the ring, or to actually take their life, or get mad and go all crazy inside the ring. No, killer instinct is something different, guys. Killer instinct is a state of mind that you have to achieve in order to prevail inside a boxing ring. And some people are born with it, and some people are not. Some people are just good-natured individuals, and they become very skillful fighters. But their nature is to prevail by points. They become very successful in the amateurs. When they become pros, they have certain success. And I can tell you there's very few of these boxers who are technical fighters who lack that killer instinct. So like I was telling you, it is something that how can I tell you? How can I explain it? It is something you can't touch. It is a feeling. It is a state of mind, all right? Uh, in actuality, it's not being mad or trying to take someone's life again, like I said, but it's relentless mentality, laser-like focus and unwavering determination to come out victorious, all right? One of the things that I say is there can be no doubt in your mind prior to the fight that you are going to prevail, all right? You see some of these stare downs when some of these guys are staring at each other, and that's where all of this begins. Not only, pre-fight, that stare down, trying to beat your opponent mentally, try to make him quit, not only inside the ring, but outside the ring, start doubting himself. So killer instinct is that laser-like focus, determination, unwavering, positive thinking that you have to have in order to become victorious inside a ring, all right? Fighters like Subriel Matias have that killer instinct. Fighters like Subriel Matias, actually put fear into their opponents just by looking at them because they had that determination. When they train with that killer instinct type of training, hitting the bag like it's your opponent, visualizing your opponent. You see some fighters, they put picture of their opponents in a heavy bag, and they start visualizing beating this opponent. And it's not only when you're training, but also in the evening, when you're at home, when you're running, preparing yourself physically, you're thinking about your opponent, you're thinking about how to beat them. And let me tell you, that's what gets you that killer instinct. You have to be relentless. You have to think, I'm not going to lose no matter what. And not too many fighters have that type of mentality. If you look at Richardson Hitchens now, his fight against Lemos, who had the killer instinct in that fight? Tell me. I don't even have to answer that one. Who had the killer instinct when you saw Pitbull Cruz fight Rolly Romero? Who had the killer instinct? Who was wavering? Who can you tell by body language that is actually already defeated? And that is something like when you throw blood in the ocean, and the sharks come, as soon as they see and taste blood or they smell it. That's the same thing for a boxer with killer instinct. Once they smell blood, once they see you wavering, once they see you doubting yourself, once they see you in the weigh-in, once they see you face to face and you look down, all right? That's how they can tell they own you. They own your soul. Roberto Mano de Piedra Duran was my favorite fighter of all time. And I admired him because he had that look. He had that killer instinct mentality. And like I said before, guys, it's not about killing somebody. It's not about taking somebody's life. It's having that mentality that you're going to prevail no matter what. Nobody's going to stop you. You're going to put the fear of God into your opponent. They're going to say, damn, there's no way I can stop this guy. And if you see some of the greatest fights in the history of boxing, you're going to see some guys that had the same mentality. Barrera versus Morales, you saw that. Mickey Ward and Arturo Gatti. Legendary fights like that. John the Beast Mugabe versus Marvin Hagler. Marvin Hagler had that killer instinct. Sugar Ray Leonard was a pretty boy, and let me tell you, he was a beautiful boxer, but he had a killer instinct. This guy had a killer instinct. Tommy Hearns had killer instinct. These are things that you need to have in order to become successful. And one of the things that I can tell you guys, and one of the things that is a main ingredient for you to become successful in boxing is to work on that killer instinct mentality, all right? Like I said before, some people are born with it. Pretty sure Subriel Matias was born with it, or maybe he developed it through all his vicissitudes in life, all his shortcomings, all his trials and tribulations, this stint in jail, the time he got shot, all that built that killer instinct mentality in him, forged him. I remember when I used to train the same way. I used to fight the same way. And it was a combination of my upbringing and the Marine Corps, and then I used to love it. I used to love to see, and one of the things I tell people, it's kind of a weird feeling, but I love to beat the hell out of my opponents. You know, there was no feeling like it. And I'm not telling you just box them. I wanted to destroy them inside the ring. Once I stepped inside the ring, because they were trying to do the same to me. So I'm telling you guys, you know, killer instinct is an essential requirement in order for you to become successful in this sport. And you can see a lot of boxers that have great ability, great technical ability, but they lack this. They lack the killer instinct. Remember Adrian Broner? Remember, I can mention so many guys. I can mention so many. Great skills, but didn't have that killer instinct. All right? Chino Maidana had the killer instinct. You know, Gustavo Lemos had the killer instinct a few weeks ago. You know, Pitbull Cruz has that killer instinct. All right? And these are things necessary in order to prevail. Now, why I like Subriel Matias so much, why I like type of fighters like that, like Roberto Manuel Duran, because they had that instinct. Every single fight, they went in there, they gave it 100%. You knew what you were going to get every single time. I remember when Sugar Ray fought Manuel Piedra Duran for the first time. You know, Manuel Piedra put a beating on Sugar Ray. Sugar Ray, you know, tried to demonstrate that he could actually go toe-to-toe with Duran. That didn't work. And on his rematch, he started boxing, and that's what worked. And it frustrated Duran, and he quit. They took his soul in that fight, in the second fight. And you know what Duran had to do in order to get that killer instinct back? He had to go to the depths of hell, to the jails in Panama, fight some of these guys, you know, bare knuckle fighting, you know, just try to get that killer instinct mentality again. Marvin Hagler said that it's hard to get up and train where you sleep in silk sheets, because you get comfortable. Canelo Alvarez doesn't have killer instinct anymore. He lost that. When you're hungry, you have it. Alexi Arguello was one hell of a fighter. He was a gentleman outside the ring, but once you step inside that ring, he wanted to take your head off. So this is one of the reasons why I like aggressive fighters. You know, relentless fighters, laser-focused fighters, guys that rather die inside the ring than give up. I remember Alfredo Salcero Escalera, when he fought Alexi Arguello, his lip was busted in half. It was hanging off his mouth, and he kept on going. They had to stop the fight. He didn't want to quit. His whole lip hanging down, you know, by a thread of cartilage there. And Alexi Arguello was continue beating on him. But Alfredo Escalera didn't turn back. Didn't turn his back or quit on his tool or none of that shit. He kept on coming forward. That is relentless spirit. That is an indomitable spirit. That is having that killer instinct. How do you achieve that? There's several ways of achieving that. Is when you spar, you have to spar with that mentality. You have to visualize. Everything you do, you got to visualize with that intent. All right? I'm not going to be defeated. It's a positive mindset, like I said before. And one of the things that I tell you guys is that, and not only in boxing, but in every sport, you know, but specifically in boxing, 90% of boxing becoming successful is mental. 10% is physical, guys. 90% of becoming a successful fighter is all about your strength of mind. I'm gonna tell you something. When I was in the Corps, this will give you a little example. When I went to boot camp, I was only 18 years old. And I remember when I got there, I was shocked. It was not like in the movies. This was the real deal. We're talking back in the 70s, guys, right at the end of the Vietnam War. And I can tell you that this beginning 2 weeks, I said to myself, there's no way I'm gonna make it. The first 2 weeks we had to sit down all day in the concrete floor, sitting one guy in front of you, one guy right behind you, and we would spend hours and hours sitting down reading the Red Monster, which was the Marine Corps guidebook. Pain in the back, pain in the neck, all that stuff, all day long, sitting until we would get released to a new platoon. And in those first 2 weeks, I said, there's no way I'm gonna make it. There's no way I'm gonna make it. But then something switched inside my head, and I said, I don't want to spend one more second in this hellhole that I need to, because it was hell, Parris Island, South Carolina, back in the 70s. And this was January. That was cold as shit. And that switch turned everything around. I said, you know what? I'm gonna get out of here. April 19th is my graduation day. I'm not gonna get recycled, because they will recycle you. And I decided there and then that I was gonna make it. That's when my killer instinct got activated. Everything I did was focused on me graduating boot camp, becoming a Marine. It's the same thing when you're a fighter. 90% mental, 10% physical. You can be in the best shape of your life. You can do great hitting the bag, hitting the speed bag, hitting the mitts, like what's his name, Ryan Garcia does, hitting the reflex bag. Ooh, look how fast he is. The guy lacks fucking killer instinct. He lacks it. He's a quitter. All right, he's gonna quit again next week. Mark my words. He's gonna get his ass beat up. And I'm gonna tell you something. Devin Haney lacks killer instinct too. He just tried to win by points. And he could actually defeat his opponent, because he's got the qualities to defeat his opponent by stoppage or knockout, but he doesn't want to risk it. He does not want to risk it. So I'm gonna tell you something. Fighters like Subriel Matias, fighters like Roberto Mano de Piedra Duran, fighters like Marvin Hagler, like Tommy Hearns, like some of these Emmanuel Navarrete nowadays, some of these Mexican warriors, guys, shit. Talk about killer instinct. You get inside the ring with a Mexican, you get inside the ring with a Puerto Rican, you got inside the ring with a Russian like Beterbiev. Believe me, they got that killer instinct. You're in for a long, long night. Win, lose, or draw. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna tell you something. Work on your killer instinct. Work on visualization. Work on that relentless type of pursuit of strengthening your spirit. If you are a boxer, if you want to be a fighter, if you want to become somebody successful in life, you got to have that drive. You got to have that drive in you. All right? No quitting. I don't allow quitting in my gym. You want to quit, don't even show up. Go do something else. Go play another sport that it's easy to quit. Play checkers. Boxing is a very hard sport, guys, and it's a sport that requires a lot of mental strength. A lot of mental strength. It's not easy. It's not natural to get hit, and overcoming that fear. Overcoming that fear is the hardest thing. I'm gonna tell you one more anecdote before I go. I'm gonna have lunch with my wife in a few minutes. I remember I fought at a national tournament in Puerto Rico. It was called a Macho Man tournament. All right, the Macho Man tournament. All right, guys from all over the island. National tournament. You win, you continue fighting. You lose, you're out. and I had to lose weight. I had to lose maybe 15 pounds from 150, 135. And day of the fight, the night of the fight, my family shows up, and we're walking to the ring. And I remember the first matchup that I had was with a guy that came down with matching robe, matching shoes, matching everything. Guy looked like a fucking killer. This black dude that fought in Puerto Rico. It was in La Cancha Pepín Cestero. It was in Bayamón. And we're talking 1980s. And man, he intimidated me. The way he came down. And when I looked, I was on top of the ring, inside the ring. And when I looked at my family, I saw my grandfather like holding his head like that, like, oh my God, that type of expression when he saw the guy was gonna fight. And that drained all the soul from my body. All that, the killer instinct was drained from me. I let doubt creep into my mind. And you can't let doubt creep into your mind for a second when you're gonna fight. Because then you're gonna quit right there. I did something that I suggest you guys do. You gotta have that switch. I flipped the switch and I said, you know, hell no. I turned around, didn't face my opponent. He was in one corner, I was in the other one. I turned around and I said, God, give me the strength to go through this. And I trained really, really hard. And there's no way that SOB is gonna beat my ass. I turned around, long story short, I knocked him down in the second round. I beat him by decision. But I won by unanimous decision. And I was relentless. I was on him the whole 3 rounds. It was an amateur fight. But anyway, guys, the reason why I'm saying this is because I could have quit right there and then in my mind. I could have breezed through 3 rounds, try to stay alive, you know, but I didn't. And that is one of the things that I like about Matias. That's one of the things why I admire and I like fighters like Matias. Fighters like Isaac Cruz, I like that. I hope he continues, you know, with that same mentality, finding the best, not picking and choosing like his idol, you know, Canela. And these are things that if you want to become a fighter, you have to get yourself trained for by your coach. You know, that motivation, that psychological type of warfare mentality. But anyway, guys, I just want to leave that with you guys. See what you think. Do you think it's important to have that killer instinct, killer mentality, or just have talent and just breeze through fights? You know, I don't believe so. For myself, that is just my opinion, but it's up to you guys. But anyway, guys, this is all for now. I'm glad you joined me today on a beautiful Friday. It's going to be a nice weekend. Looking forward to it. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, guys. A lot of you guys are listening in, but not subscribing. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps me to continue making videos like this, all right? So like, share, and subscribe. I really appreciate your comments. But this is all for now. Coach Mario, owner and head coach of Warriors Pride Boxing Academy, saying hasta la vista. God bless you all, guys, and peace.